Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx's new Netflix movie fails to redeem their $137 million classic remake from 11 years ago. Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx have finally reunited with their Netflix thriller Back in Action, but the film hasn't quite received the acclaim that some anticipated. The film centers around two ex-spies who are dragged back to their old lives when their secret identities are exposed, leaving them in absolute danger as they're forced to clean up the damage. It's an effective blend of comedy and action, but Back in Action's poor Rotten Tomatoes score is a clear indicator that the film isn't as strong as it could have been. The movie marks Diaz's return to acting after a decade-long retirement, having previously worked alongside Foxx in their 2014 remake of Annie. While that film was another critical failure, it proved beyond a doubt that these two actors have some of the most entertaining on-screen chemistry in recent years. Thankfully, they bring this same charm to Back in Action and help alleviate many of its faults. It's just one of the ways that Back in Action uses its superstar cast to its advantage. Back in Action has an even worse Rotten Tomatoes score than Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz's 2014 Annie remake. Although there was excitement to see Foxx and Diaz together again, Back in Action arguably wasn't the right project to make that happen. The film has received even worse reviews than their previous collaboration, the 2014 Annie remake, which was considered a flop upon release. Back in Action currently holds a critic score of just 23% on Rotten Tomatoes in comparison to Annie's 28%. These are both considered rotten, meaning that critics generally don't consider them worth watching. It's worth mentioning, however, that its audience score is significantly higher at 63%. Cameron Diaz has made several action movies, but it's never been a genre where she's found consistent success. There was hope that Back in Action could be an interesting change of pace that uses her undeniable chemistry with Jamie Foxx to its advantage, but that doesn't seem to be the case either. Back in Action's early reviews frequently cite its derivative script, underwhelming action, and predictable narrative as its fatal flaws, while the performances are generally considered fun and enjoyable. Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx's poorly reviewed movie streak dates back to 1999. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time that Foxx and Diaz have been the victims of such a poorly reviewed film. In fact, the pair actually have a streak that dates all the way back to 1999, when they starred together in the sports drama film Any Given Sunday. Despite holding an audience score of 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics' opinion on the project was much less forgiving, offering another rotten score of just 52%. From there, the actor's unfortunate streak has only gotten worse. It's likely no coincidence that Annie was among the last movies that Cameron Diaz made before retiring from acting in 2014. And it's made even worse by the fact that her comeback project was another failure. Annie followed Any Given Sunday, and now Back in Action marks their third and potentially final collaboration. It's likely no coincidence that Annie was among the last movies that Cameron Diaz made before retiring from acting in 2014. And it's made even worse by the fact that her comeback project was another failure. It's worth noting, however, that none of this is the fault of either Foxx or Diaz. They both provide some hugely entertaining work in Back in Action, but they're not quite enough to stop this messy script from losing track of itself. Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx should still keep making movies together despite reviews. Incidentally, Back in Action clearly sets up for a sequel, although its poor reviews could impact the chances of that happening. Still, this doesn't mean Foxx and Diaz should stop working together. There's obviously a reason why they've worked together so frequently throughout their careers, and that often translates excellently to the screen. While their projects may not be the strongest, Foxx and Cameron's chemistry is always something that audiences can rely on. They have a hilarious dynamic that always makes their collaborations fun, if not great. Thankfully, both Foxx and Diaz are at a point in their careers where a critical failure isn't going to limit any opportunities for them. Thankfully, both Foxx and Diaz are at a point in their careers where a critical failure isn't going to limit any opportunities for them. They can afford to make movies that aren't hugely successful from time to time, choosing projects that they enjoy instead of those that are most likely to be revered by critics. Importantly, they clearly enjoyed making Back in Action. For what it's worth, it's the film that brought Cameron Diaz out of her decade-long retirement, and the entire press run has been a celebration of their professional relationship across the years.